Hey everybody, I'm back with a new TV show spoiler review, and today I'll be covering season 2 of My Hero Academia. Uh, this one really ramps up, the, well, at least this particular arc, but really carries on very the meat and crux of what's soon to come in this overarching story. But before I continue, please do me a huge favor, leave a like, comment below. Let me know what you guys think of My Hero Academia Season 2. What were your likes and dislikes through this particular season? And you have a favorite episode. And follow me in the links in the description below. Check out my Patreon if you want to further support the channel. Anyway, continue on. And you can find my Season 1 review that I did a couple of years ago up on my YouTube channel. So please check that out as well. So carrying on, after the situation where the League of Villains try to ambush the students and a couple of the teachers in a particular, it's supposed to be like a routine testing area in the last season, the students actually get to highlight some of their skills, even though they never dealt with legit villains before. So there's really like a sink or swim type of situation, and we get to meet certain big time characters like what is that character in a gaseous state? I'm blanking on his doggone name. Crap. Tomura Shigaraki. And like the guy with the gateway powers, the gas guy, the like a bartender. I'm blanking on his doggone name. I have trouble with names. There's like a lot of characters in this show, some of which I can remember their names very easily. Some like I struggle with, but I know who they are when I see them. Which is one of the benefits of this, or at least points I give this show that I don't often give to other anime, because this one does a unique job of highlighting all the characters, even like the villains. Everybody get their shine in this show that you really don't see all that much in other anime to the same degree. Unlike most anime that kind of, you get to see use Naruto as a good example here. Naruto has an impressive line of characters, and over time, you get to see a little bit of their story, upbringing, their personal struggles, all that stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, you like it, but overall, if it didn't really matter all that much. It's just like, you look at something like, let's say Kiba, for example. Kiba has an interesting story, but that interesting is very middle of the road. It's fine that you have it, but it's just like, and some might argue you would like to see what these other characters are all about. But you look at something like what's comparable, like Froppy. Froppy's so interesting, and when you see her episode where she's training with these Coast Guard type of heroes, you're very engaged. When you see like in Naruto Shippuden with Kiba, which by the way it took a long while before you get to see. That's another thing. It's like you learn early on about these characters that isn't the central main ones like Bakugo, uh, 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 crap, hot and cold. You know who I'm talking about. I'm blanking on his doggone name. Uh, uh, Crap. It's gonna bother me if I don't get it, because he's like a very incredible character. Shoto, Shoto. Uh, it's not like Shoto or Bakugo or Midoriya, who are probably like the, if you want to put a fine point on it, they probably be like the main focus type of characters. But somebody like Froppy or uh uh the Invisible Girl, it's like you learn early on about these characters, but if they the writers, if they didn't get around or ignore for the most part these characters little backstory or their hopes and dreams and personal lives until after the third, get into the fourth season, that you kind of lose like that same level of care for these characters because when we get into the later seasons, when it get into the meat of the stuff, it means so much more because they all feel like they could be their own, for at least for the most part, their own main character rather than just hyper focus on Midoriya. Because Midoriya is large part like Naruto in a way, but unlike Naruto, people ain't hyper focused on that particular character. It's hard for me to describe, but you catch my drift. Where it's like My Hero Academia does an impressive job of highlighting all the characters and making them feel like they share equal time, at least close of the enough time as Midoriya. Is all spread out rather than Naruto, for example, where he's primarily focused on somebody like Sasuke and Naruto, and everybody else seems like by and large an afterthought unless they got some kind of tangential tie-in with whatever is going on with Naruto or Sasuke. But in any case, so now we're getting into this essentially a tournament. It's part of the part of the semester course where they're participating in the sports festival, and we get to see all of class of 1A and a bunch of other students who pretty much giving class 1A the stink eye, because now there's like, okay, usually all these students' little capabilities remain like a secret until we get to the sports festival where they can highlight that stuff, because it's kind of like a football game, or essentially, where other licensed superheroes pretty much can watch, and it's pretty much like talent scouts essentially, to see any of these young heroes could be a good fit for their particular agency if they got a particular skill set that would work well with what they got going on. Like Froppy, for example, is a good candidate to work along because after this, they start interning with certain licensed heroes. Froppy ends up going to like the Coast Guard superhero that, the SEAL hero. So it's like kind of makes sense. Somebody who's a water-based hero would want somebody like Froppy on his team, because that would have been an asset. Her skill set will be an asset, and they do an impressive job to making sure they, teach these kids. It's like, what it means to be a hero and how to utilize their skills and acknowledging their weaknesses as well. As later on, you get to see where they train a little bit more. Kind of jumping ahead, these teachers inform them about their faults and how they can easily overcome them, because they can easily be used against them. So acknowledging the weakness, you can avoid it being exploited, for the most part. But man, I cannot stand Bakugo. He's like a complete bully. And nobody, because I already know they dealt with it much later in the next couple of seasons from now. But they should have nipped it in the butt immediately. Sure, maybe the first season that could be hashed out. But halfway through this, that should have been like completely acknowledged. Especially after he kind of won this little sports festival thing, where he's kind of freaking out. They have to muzzle the guy. Okay, if you have to muzzle this dude, clearly he needs to be brought in to the principal and spoke with a couple of the teachers. And it's like, okay, we need to send you some kind of therapy or something like that, because I get it. He got an explosive attitude that kind of matches with his explosion powers. But at the same time, they need to bring it to his attention. It can't be his peers. And I'm sorry, Deku, you're not the one, because that's one of my slight issues with Deku. He, sure, he like stands up for himself, but he's kind of nebbish. He grows out of it later in the later seasons, but it's just like he had too much of a timid factor. But it's something also that's redeeming about him. But it just seems like he has to like push his self internally to like not to back down, and like, got a punch in the face to knock some sense into him and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, you're not the one who gotta you're too nice for the most part to actually get through to Bakugo, and Bakugo needs to be talked to by his superiors. I was like, okay, what the hell? Because if you saw in the last season, this dude was literally going to kill this kid if he wasn't going to put a stop to him. Of course, Deku manages to pull off a smash in order to, like, show off the level of power before Bakugo connected. But it's just like, okay, that should have been a red flag. And if y'all watching this and these kids just sitting idly by and they're too afraid to, at least most of them are too afraid to stand up to Bakugo and say, like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? And it's like, oh, he got to do the back up, nerd. And it's like, no. Somebody slam this dude's face into the wall and tell him, like, you gonna listen, okay? I don't know what the heck is up with you and your feelings for this kid. I don't know what's going on, but you're gonna stop that. Okay, stop that immediately, because you try to kill this kid. Now, I have a good mind to, like, get your parents involved and probably get the police involved too, just to watch you, because that ain't gonna fly here. We're like a school teaching you how to be heroes. We don't kill. And the way your attitude's going, that's not behavior of a hero as well. That's like, okay, you gotta deal with this kid. And that is part of the biggest thing that irks me with this show. The fact that you seeing this stuff and you choose to, like, kind of the attitude of it will resolve itself, or these two, they can they'll hash out in their own way and blah blah blah. Like no, no. I don't know if it's just like a Easter thing or something. How they solve like kids squabbles or something, but like no, this kid was literally gonna kill him in the previous season. And it's like, and he just got agitated every time he's around this kid, and it's like nobody should agitate you that much where you literally burst into anger every time this dude speak his name around you, or it's like this that level of anger is just not healthy at all. And like, come on, that bothers me. That really gets under my skin because I hate bullies, and this kind of attitude gets under my skin. I know he's supposed to be like one of the heroes that we focus on, and certain people like him and stuff, but it could have been handled a lot better than this. It just, his attitude carries on far longer than it needs to be. I know it kind of works up to a particular point where he comes around and it adds the level of redeeming factor that have us love the character a little bit more because he gets over it. That's all well and good, but I argue you can achieve the same feeling if you just let it carry on for just maybe 2 seasons at most, until like somebody actually got to sit down and actually talk it out or something. But anyway, or at least gotta be a superhero with mind, with psychic abilities to get inside the kid's head and actually, like a guidance counselor with psychic powers, and it's like Professor X or something like that, and it's like get inside Bakugo's mind. It's like, okay, why you have some mixed feelings about this kid? What is it about him that irritates you so much? Because he just doesn't do anything. Only thing he wants to do is be nice to you and be your friend, and all it does is irritate you, which is kind of like a weird attitude to have. And just, deal with it. I mean, it doesn't need to be a quick fix, but it kind of puts it in the kid's face and have him stew on it for a little bit before he actually organically comes around at his leisure. But at least give him the thought, to like, okay, you probably could dial it back. Anyway, I get off a tangent here. Bakugo kind of irks me as a character. Anyway, so we get to see a lot of new characters, like this gadget girl. She's kind of fun, where she's kind of like the James Bond's Q in a way, where it comes with all these gadgets for a lot of these heroes. And she's kind of quirky, but she's fun. She's really fun. But then you get this other character who technically have like mind control powers, but it's kind of like Purple Man from Jessica Jones, where, and I like when they bring up the character after each new season. You got to remind you about the character's name and their abilities sometimes. And this new character from this different class, his ability allows him to mind control you if you answer a question. Like if he asks you a question and you answer, he immediately gets you into his thrall. But it only works one person at a time. And if somebody physically jolts the person under mind control, it snaps them out of it. And of course, which credit to the show, where you get to see a little bit of his backstory. He doesn't take over the entire show, but you get to see a little bit where his quirk manifests and everybody's praising him, but he also, overhearing people's little side comments, thinking like, oh, that's kind of power that only a supervillain might use, because I don't want to, work with a person that got mind control powers. Well, he'll make me do something I don't want to do. And of course, he's having to get over that hump because I mean, sure, on the outside looking in, you would assume a person would be like a potential villain, but I like the way the writers kind of circumvent all that stuff. Like, no, just because somebody has like a mind control ability doesn't necessarily mean they automatically going to potentially become a villain. That's kind of feeding into a bit of prejudice there. And he has to like prove himself to show like, no, I will use this for good. I'm not going to be a villain. I'm going to prove them wrong. And of course, he does, despite him losing to Midoriya. And we get, speaking of Midoriya, we get to see a little bit of, the past, like the shadowy images of past users of One for All, which All Might eventually tells Deku about it, where the history of One for All, where he fought All for One, like the mega big bag of the show, who is essentially immortal, because a long time ago, when quirks start popping up around the world, pretty much kind of like mutants in a way, All for One had the ability to bestow powers and take powers, and pretty much making him a kind of like a crime lord in a way. And he pretty much gathered a army of worshippers, or essentially, and he had this younger brother who was pretty much like the polar opposite of him, who was also quirkless. So, according to All Might, because he doesn't know if All for One did this for his brother or try to curse him, that is unknown. But he ends up giving his brother a power, a useless power, called Stockpile. But unbeknownst to him at the time, the brother did have a power. And the power was passing down powers to another person. So, combined with the passing down power with the stockpile power, which is what you see with All Might giving, willingly giving his strand of hair or DNA for a person to consume to acquire similar powers as him, is how essentially got passed down from one user to the next. So, since the brother couldn't bring himself or didn't have the ability to take on his brother at the time, and since his brother accumulated so many powers, which obviously must have included some level of immortality because he should have long since been dead, the brother bestowed like, okay, we'll charge somebody else to hopefully somebody down the line will be able to have the power to take on his brother and put a stop to him. So he passed it down to one user, and they eventually passed down to another one, and another one, until it eventually came down to All Might, and then eventually Deku. And all the previous users had their own unique particular power, but thanks to the stockpile, combined with the passing down power, the next person ends up getting the unique ability of the previous user in order to, pretty much gain like an immense level of abilities. We'll see eventually Deku utilize certain talents from previous users, but it's kind of strange. I was going to mention it now because I might not mention it at that time, but it's kind of strange that we don't see All Might utilizing previous users' abilities, but I guess each user handles the One for All power differently from the others. Um, so Deku, without hesitation, says like, hey, I'll take on your the responsibility of if I come across All For One, I will handle it. Like I will take on that responsibility on my. But All Might hesitates. He doesn't tell the kids like, I might not be around if that comes around, signifying that because he already's like can't last long in his ultra form for too long after thanks for being injured by his last battle with All For One. Now he can't last for after the whole Nomu situation and burning through his capabilities. Now he can't stay in his ultra form for more than an hour. Like maybe like an hour a day or something like that. But I kind of skipped over to my point earlier. They try to keep their powers hidden normally until the sports festival, but because after they're tangled with the League of Villains, now everybody's seeing them like, oh, now we know what to expect dealing with these guys because it's all over the news about their fight with the League of Villains, so I know what to expect with all these guys. But it doesn't really ultimately matter because they end up overcoming that. But also during this particular festival, we dealing with this villain called Stain, who singles out and attacks heroes and severely injures them. Quite a few actually were murdered. Eventually he came around to Ingenium, the older brother to the class rep, who looks up to his brother, who pretty much have the similar abilities. And so now, filled with rage, once he purposely requests to be interned in the last location where his brother was attacked. What was the area? Hoto? I believe it was Hoto. Hoshu. Hoshu City. And I like smart writing here. I like the fact that the person he's interning with, on patrol stops and brings up the fact that, I understand why you, chose to intern with me. Is because of the hero killer Stain, and I know who your brother is. So I want you to know that vengeance isn't the way to go. That's not why we do this thing. And like, I'm here for you if you ever need anything. So I'm glad they brought it up instead of making this guy complete novice. But he still ignores that because he's just so filled with fury. He just wanted get some payback for what happened to his brother, because his brother, because of how severely injured he is, he wouldn't be able, not only can't walk or just not walk the same anymore, so pretty much ruining his hero career early, or at least not early, but he's been probably a hero for a while, but that has to stop now because he can't actively do it no more, which angers class rep even more. So while Deku is interning with All Might's mentor, who was the sidekick to the previous user of One For All, this old guy named Gran Torino, which, while he was training Deku, I can't help but think about Star Wars most of the time. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of Star Wars references in this show because the writer is a huge fan of Star Wars. So there's a lot of cities named after certain places in the Star Wars universe, which I thought was pretty cool. And Gran Torino has kind of like a boosting ability where he kind of maneuver around pretty quickly, and it's kind of teaching Deku how to utilize all one for all safely without breaking his bones. So Deku learns to use only 5% of the power, but instead of putting it all into one limb, he spreads it out. So that way, he spreads it out evenly. So that way, he can be able to maneuver, easily, and fight without worrying about constantly breaking his bones, because that's the biggest issue in season 1. He keep having to go to the infirmary to have Recovery Girl to heal him up. But now you got to learn how to properly manage it, because that's the biggest hump that he had to get over. His teacher keep telling him, okay, you got to learn how to manage his power, because you won't be an effective hero if you constantly breaking your bones. So now we kind of got over that hump at this point, for the most part. And ironically, Shoto, despite his grievances with his father and encouragement from his friend Deku, utilizing both his fire abilities and ice abilities, while early on he just only wanted to utilize his ice abilities because he hates his father so much. He never wanted to utilize his fire capabilities. So now he's embracing it, but he's interning with his father, because since technically he's the number 2 hero, he feels like, okay, like if I want to learn to be a hero, you're the next best person. So despite my ill will towards you, you have the knowledge that I need. But we get to see his father Endeavor utilize his fire capabilities in very unique ways, which is pretty dope. Like him walking on walls by melting the surfaces with the walls of the buildings with his feet, in order to like gain some momentum and jump off and shoot off like a rocket. When all these Nomus start to attack the city, and Stain, utilizing the chaos, started attacking this Native American hero, but Ingenium, the younger brother, tracks him down. But because Stain has a unique ability where if he tastes your blood, because he got all these blades, if he tastes your blood, depending on the blood type, he can at max paralyze you for 8 minutes. And that's how he easily takes down people. But eventually Deku, and then thanks to Deku dialing some assistance, he did it kind of secretly, so he just kind of dialed it out just for anybody to show up to help. But luckily Shoto was nearby, so Shoto, Deku tried to assist their classmate and this other hero to take it down Stain. And this dude moving like a beast, very high endurance and good speed. He's slicing through Shoto's ice pillars with ease, showing some level of strength too. But Deku gets cut a couple of times and nearly he's paralyzed for a few minutes. But because Deku can easily analyze the situation, he realized the guy's capabilities, because now the class rep is starting to move freely now, because he can't hold on to the paralyzing power for too long. And you get to see this awesome try attack from Deku, class rep, and Shoto. Just crushes this dude, knocks him out. And eventually, Endeavor, Gran Torino and a couple other heroes show up to, bring this guy into custody. But this dude, like, wakes up and kills the stray Nomu, despite, a couple of ribs being broken and the severe damage done to him. He still managed to, just freak everybody out and kill this creature. And he looks at Deku pretty much, and it's like, he says, like, because he has his, he's a warp zealot, essentially, where it's like, he doesn't believe anybody is like a real hero, because you all in it for glory. And he points out to Class Rep, which he kind of took to heart to it, because he wasn't wrong, is the fact that you claim to be a hero, but you're too focused on me, and you have not acknowledged the person I have held hostage and hurt. What kind of hero are you? You claim to be a hero, but you clearly, didn't care about this guy I have hostage. And it's like, because of his fanaticism, kind of inspires more villains to join up to Shigaraki's side of things. Like, villains are starting to come out of the woodwork because of this guy. He really kind of changed the game, and not for the better. But he screams like to everybody, like, only All Might is worthy, because he only sees All Might as the true hero. He only does this for the fact that he's a hero for people, and not to be like a glory hound or for capital gain or anything like that, like most of these heroes. Matter of fact, people saying like, the boys, it's like what would look like in real life if superheroes were existed. That's what it would turn out to be. I respectfully disagree. I think My Hero Academia is probably like the closest what it'd be like if people had super capabilities in real life. It'd be something probably akin to this. Not to saying like there's some aspects of the boys that probably would happen, but I argue that My Hero Academia is probably the closest, because there are some heroes that would capitalize off their abilities. Like, this is one superhero who's like a supermodel, and she's essentially like a day job, essentially. But she still does her superhero work afterwards. There's a little school, not unlike, the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. It's like, yeah, it's, you gotta pretty much get licensed to be a hero. Otherwise, you can't just have everybody running around being vigilantes and causing havoc, and without proper guidance. But the hero killer arc was intense. That was very well played out. Not played out, but it's very well written. What else? Oh God, getting towards the end, doing like the final exams, where realizing the shift in tide, given how the League of Villains is starting to ramp up problems, they want to make sure the teachers and the principal want to make sure the kids are properly prepared this time, so they won't get caught with their pants down like last time and just narrowly win. So they cobbled together like a new course, for the final exam for the first semester, and they just comes into play with about learning about their weaknesses and everything like that, where they pair up two students up against one teacher who is best utilized to exploit those characters' weaknesses. Like, Eraserhead goes up against Shoto and the Creation Girl. And I like this particular episode the most, because Creation Girl is very self-conscious, despite being very intelligent. but she's very self-conscious in her capabilities, where uh, because she can make anything come out of her body at will. Like whatever she think of, it comes right out. Like she wants a bazooka, it just comes right out of her body. She doesn't need to know the exact intricacies of it, but it just it happens. But the problem is, it comes if her concentration is shaken, it just won't work. She needs to focus, and so she's not very quick. And when you're on the fly, like you are in battle most of the time, and that could be a detriment to her. And when she's teaming up with Shoto realized, okay, I kind of bulldozed my way in with my own plan without listening to her, because he quickly realized that she really wanted to say something. I kind of took over the situation. And you get to see this moment with her where she kind of found herself. Essentially, it's like, look, I have a plan. And Shoto, without hesitation, it's like, sure, I'll follow your lead, no problem. And it's just like you see that moment where she kind of overcome that little insecurity, where she managed to, because the whole point of the course is like either handcuff the teacher or manage to run away through the exit. Either way, you pass the course, because you only fail if the teacher manages to stop you. The whole point is like learning how to overcome the adversary, or if the odds seem not in your favor, you could easily run away. There's no shame in that, to go find some added help. Because don't take on a problem that's more than you can handle. But I thought it was a great lessons here that you learned from these teachers. When of course you get the moment where Bakugo and Deku go up against All Might himself, and just despite the gadget girl from the sports festival coming up with these gizmos to kind of limit the teacher's power, so that way they can handicap themselves dealing with the students, because they're too much of an expert. They can easily like kind of one shot a lot of these kids, so they kind of want to give them like a handicap essentially. But All Might needed, because they're bracers that you put on their wrist to limit their abilities. All Might, because he is still so freaking powerful, he needs 2 wristbands on each of his arms and 2 on each of his legs. He's that freaking powerful, and still, it's still, kind of rocking Deku and Bakugo's world, breaking their bones and pushing them, their endurance to the limits, despite Bakugo, like, out of frustration, begrudgingly working with Deku and teaming up with him to get Deku to run through the gate to pass the course, while he distracts All Might. But of course, it doesn't work for long, and you can see All Might just reveling and just in the theater of it all, where it's like, oh, I get to play a villain. Oh, this is so much fun, class. So much fun, students. And he just like he's pulling his punches, but my God, he's wrecking this shit. Like, golly. But Deku, because he's such a good hero, he comes back for Bakugo and carrying him on his shoulders to get through the gate to pass the course. So their whole entire exchange is, very well written, very well animated on top of all that. But then, the League of Villains is really starting to get some new recruits. We get to see what's that girl who I know she kind of utilized like kind of like a janky version of Mystique's powers to change looks. Uh, uh, and some guy with mostly burnt skin show up at the end, showing like things are really, things are going to get intense in the foreseeable season. But that is pretty much season 2 of My Hero Academia, just broken down a little bit. But not really that much complaints other than my issue with Bakugo. I'm glad we get a little bit more in depth with so far as what All Might knows about the history of the One for All power and the villain All for One. But we get a little bit more info in the later seasons. But man, yeah, this is really, really good. I love this anime. But yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything else. But let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys tomorrow for a fun video that I want to do. But I wanted to wait until this review is up and done. But stay tuned. I'll have a couple of movie reviews coming out this Thursday, so look forward to that. And I just posted my overall thoughts on Black Myth Wukong because I just wrapped that up, which you can watch the entire walkthrough of that game up on my YouTube channel, and the review and my quick thoughts on the game also up on my YouTube channel. I will see you guys soon. And now that I'm kind of freed up with my walkthrough, now I can get back to playing some Overwatch 2, some Marvel vs. Capcom collections, because I still haven't gotten into like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 just yet. And getting back to some Ace Attorney Miles Edgeworth, because I have to put that to the side for a while, because I want to just get done with Black Myth Wukong and get out that way and get out the way. So I'm pretty sure maybe tomorrow I'll get back to some Ace Attorney. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Take care. Have a great night. Peace.